What's good? It's Woog. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. UFC Middleweight champion Israel Adesanya, 19-0, is making his second defense, this time versus Paolo Costa, the Eraser Borrachinha, 13-0. And I don't know, y'all, some ain't right if you're Team Izzy. Conventional wisdom tells us that Adesanya wins this. His precision striking, his kickboxing nuance, speed, his timing, elusiveness, experience, length, all of these great things that we've seen over the past 2 to 3 years where he went on this blazing fast but incrementally tested rise to the championship, these are all worth noting. I mean, since joining the UFC, he beat Rob Wilkinson, then Marvin Vettori, Brad Tavares, Derek Brunson, and old Anderson Silva, Kelvin Gastelum for the interim title, then finally Robert Whittaker for the actual belt. 7 incrementally more challenging opponents and wins, all within just over a year and a half. These are all reasons to believe that he's going to get the win versus Costa. But I'm starting to wonder whether a lot of people that I hear commenting about Costa have really been watching Costa, and I mean watching him closely. Can we agree on this? Yoel Romero is one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport. That shouldn't be a shock to anybody. He's also one of the toughest to look good against, right? I mean, I think of some of the most unfortunate outcomes that a fighter's experienced in the cage in recent history, and at least a few Yoel Romero highlights or dogfights pop up. Paolo Costa edged him in a disputed 3-round fight, a fight where there were a couple points you might have wondered whether Romero was going to get TKO'd, which we've never seen in his UFC career. Granted, he was also 42 when he fought Costa. But people are mistakenly billing this upcoming title fight strictly as a skills versus brute strength matchup. Go look again at Costa's hand speed and intelligent pressure versus Uriah Hall, or versus a diminished Johnny Hendricks. Now, I'm not calling him Zab Judah with the hand speed or Cody Garbrandt, but his punches and combinations get there quickly. He's not purely a Hulk smash fighter. He looks like he must be, but no. In fact, there's no such thing as a pure brute who lacks skills at this level. Also, it's rare that you have somebody with this muscular build who also has very good cardio, if you believe the stories coming out of his training sessions. The very muscular types often gas out pretty badly, especially if they have high offensive output early, which Costa does. I did notice, however, that there were moments late in the second round versus Romero when Costa appeared to tire while Romero started landing several jabs while circling and switching stances and landing the jab with the other hand. But I did have Costa winning the first 2 of those 3 rounds versus Romero. But there were moments when Costa started to follow Romero a little more lazily and with less defense and less purpose, less strategy, far less ferocity. Granted, this was a dogfight, but if Israel Adesanya can get into a rhythm and get Costa to follow, eat jabs, and run into counters, he'll obviously have a ton of success. But if Costa can do what I saw Kelvin Gastelum do to Adesanya a couple times in their recent classic, I think he can really catch Adesanya. And I'm referring not to the 4th round head kick that badly wobbled Adesanya, but the 2nd round knockdown where Kelvin jumped into the pocket, threw a left hook, and then took an extra hop and doubled down with the same hand, catching and dropping Izzy with the second left. So Izzy is timing your movement and measuring your attack, but sometimes he'll move away from the power strike, might throw a counter, might not, might just continue to move, and sometimes he'll pivot, move, and will truly be out of range. But every now and then, Izzy will move just out of range from the initial attack, and then will drop his hands after moving from that first power strike, and if you double that, you could get to the target. My question is whether Costa has the footwork to replicate a similar double step or double hop that Gastelum executed. I don't think Costa's footwork is as good as Gastelum's, but the pressure he applies is intelligent pressure. It includes some defense, some head movement, and while he doesn't necessarily jump into the pocket like Gastelum had to versus the taller and longer Adesanya, he can certainly step and slide into the pocket, and we'll see whether or not that's enough to consistently close the distance. In some ways, the step and slide is actually more defensively responsible than the hopping into the pocket like a Sean Porter in boxing or Kelvin Gastelum, or Robert Whittaker, who paid the price for hopping in against a counter striker like Izzy. So perhaps a step and slide wouldn't be the worst idea as long as it's consistent enough pressure to where you could throw enough feints to be able to collapse the pocket. Paolo Costa also does vicious work to the body, which could be a huge benefit here versus a skilled mover / counter striker like Adesanya, who's also proven to have 5-round stamina. I think Costa needs to mix that body attack with changing the rhythm of his punches, and if not the rhythm of his punches, then at least the pattern, the punch pattern. So don't only give him a 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then an occasional 1, 2, 3, with the 1 being the jab, the 2 being the straight right, and the 3 being the left hook. Vary that up a bit. Turn that into a 2, fake the 1, and then another 2, where you shoot the right, fake the left with your shoulder, and then shoot another 2. Or a 1, fake the 2, throw another 1, left jab, or 3, left hook. Also, visual deception can work here. You often see Adesanya, I saw him against Kelvin Gastelum look low and then throw that question mark kick up high. If Costa commits to the body and then is able to look down while throwing up, a lot of that could go a long way, especially as the opponent begins to tire and starts to worry about the increased pressure and the body attack. I mentioned that doubling a hook while coming in can also throw Izzy's anticipation of Costa's strike selection off, but this can also leave Costa exposed if he's coming in without adequate head movement or having a hand up. I think that Costa will be able to go to the body somewhat successfully. I expect him and Izzy to split the first 2 rounds just as Izzy and Gastelum did. This can obviously be a very uncomfortable fight for the champ, but I do like Adesanya's 5-round experience. I expect Costa's offense to become more predictable as he fatigues. I also expect his defense to fall apart as he tries to pressure with a more predictable attack. Yet, I still think Costa is very durable. I think Izzy will continue to respect his power, and even if he does start picking him apart from the 3rd round to the 5th, I don't think that he'll pour it on enough to finish Costa, and I expect Costa to make it the full 5 rounds for the first time in his career, but for Adesanya to be awarded the decision win. Now, he did stop Robert Whittaker to win the middleweight belt, which I thought was a doomed return fight for Whittaker to begin with due to his extended time out of the cage, his health issues at the time, and the toll that I still believe the 2 Yoel Romero fights took on him. Before stopping Whittaker, though, Izzy's last stoppage was versus Derek Brunson 5 fights ago. He did almost stop Gastelum late in the 5th in their classic. Now, Paolo Costa hasn't fought in over a year, and that fight was the first and only time he'd even gone a full 3 rounds, though it was against one of the most destructive forces in the sport in Yoel Romero. If you look at Costa's career, it's a string of first-round knockouts versus lesser competition in a regional scene, then a couple UFC stoppages versus marginal UFC talent, including the win versus the faded Johnny Hendricks, who was fighting one division too high, and then a quality stoppage versus Uriah Hall. Very impressive performance. If he had more 5-round experience, or even more full 3-round experience, I like Costa's chances to perform well in the 4th and 5th rounds versus Adesanya. But if he gradually gets sloppier as we get deeper into the fight, Adesanya has the tools to make you pay for that. But again, I'll give Costa's durability the benefit of the doubt and say that he'll make it the distance in a spirited but clear decision loss versus the champ, because Izzy gets busy. But let me know your thoughts. Who do you see coming out on top here? And if Adesanya wins, who should be the next up to get a crack at the 185-pound title? By the way, I'm not crazy about Adesanya's chances at 205, not now at least. If he can continue to reliably make the 185-pound limit and can continue to perform at his best at that division, I wouldn't suggest going up to light heavyweight, except for maybe a couple one-offs like Anderson Silva did versus James Irvin or Forrest Griffin and versus Daniel Cormier much later. James Irvin, by the way, if you don't remember, was the guy who first, I believe, put it on Houston Alexander, who had gotten a big upset win over Keith Jardine. So Houston Alexander, who was this like really strong, yoked up, athletic, basically mechanic turned fighter, upsets Keith Jardine, who was a established UFC vet who at one point beat Chuck Liddell. And so there was this Houston Alexander hype train for a minute. So before he lost to Kimbo Slice and to Thiago Silva, he got whooped pretty badly versus a very hard-hitting James Irvin, who, when he fought Anderson Silva, threw a body kick. Anderson Silva catches the leg with one hand, knocks him down to the ground with a straight right while he's holding the leg. That was the first time I had seen it executed like that. You see that a lot more commonly now, where the person will at least attempt to catch the leg and throw the punch, but this one was the first, was way ahead of its time, perfectly executed, caught the leg perfectly, and in almost one motion, catches, punches, Irwin goes down, splits his eye open, the Spider finishes Irvin with the next few punches. Brilliant performance. Incredible, incredible. But please, leave your comments in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog, thanks for tuning in.